Hi and welcome. I'm a French style enthusiast living in London, and on this channel I share how to add a little bit of French je ne sais quoi to your life. And today in this video I would like to address all the videos that you have probably seen on social media lately of influencers saying that they're selling all their designer and luxury bags and encouraging you to do the same. I would like to explore the question of, is designer luxury really a lie? Should you sell yours? Is it really no longer fashionable to have designer luxury goods, or isn't it? So let's dive in. I want to start at the beginning and explain what designer luxury is for. I think particularly handbags, which are having a big moment in culture at this point in time. Designer luxury, designer handbags are social signaling. And we all intuitively understand this. Like, you essentially state who you are and where you sit on the social ladder, depending on which bag you carry. And that's something that is, I think, widely understood, especially by women. Men will perhaps like own a watch or something that positions them among other men. Women will own a very good handbag, and that will position them on the social scale compared to other women. So in a way, handbags are like a way to express that you've succeeded, that you're powerful, that you're a professional woman, or that you are so wealthy that you don't need to work. Like they send subtle signals, social signals that indicate where you sit in the hierarchy. And I think essentially at heart, like if you read any social studies or any kind of anthropological studies, you quickly realize that men are descended from chimpanzees, and we have very strong social rules that are that come to us from millions of years of evolution, and it's just very natural for humans to want to establish where they sit in a particular group. And so having a luxury handbag essentially just tells everybody where you are, how to interact with you, what kind of person you are, where you put your values, like if you see a woman with a straw bag with lots of fringes that is bright pink, like what image she wants to project to the world and how she wants to be perceived. And if you see a woman carrying a black Hermes Kelly, similarly, you will know more or less where she sits and how she wants to be perceived. So they're basically just communication signals. We select the bags in order to project a particular image about ourselves. Now, buying a designer luxury bag like a Chanel or a Vuitton or an Hermes sends a particular signal, which goes usually with extreme wealth, right? So if you've paid 10,000 or 20,000 pounds for a bag, that sends a very clear signal that you didn't need like that money for other things like food, for example, or like buying a sofa or a computer or a car. So you have a certain amount of disposable income which you advertise, and you basically position yourself by buying that object. Now, in terms of how the designer and luxury world helps you to choose those signals, basically its job is to make the objects highly desirable and also scarce. So it's a very known economic strategy. So for example, let's take the example of online courses, which a few years ago I was interested in a particular online course, and it was impossible to sign up for it. It only opened up for twice a year for a week, and then there were only 500 spots, and you had to sign up for one of these 500 spots on the day when it came out. And if you didn't, then you missed out and you had to wait another 6 months to take that course. So what they're doing there is gatekeeping, engineering scarcity, which doesn't really exist. I mean, what is the scarcity behind offering an online course? It's zero, basically. There's no scarcity. However many people you want to follow that course, they can follow it. It's not even live. So the engineered scarcity, which you can see very clearly there, is basically there is an infinite number of possible seats in that course, but they've made it so that you have to wait to get access to it. It's a gatekept, so basically gate kept, or whatever the word is. So basically you can't just like sign up for it. Like you have to go through a few hoops, and essentially you have to pay quite a lot of money to get in. And so obviously everybody's like, you know, pushing to get into that course. Same with Glastonbury tickets, a famous concert here in the UK. Same with a number of other things where, like, let's say if you want to go to the VIP room in a nightclub, there is a bodyguard, there is a gatekeeping. It's very difficult to get in, so you need to pay more in order to get in, and only a certain number of people can get in. So there's a factor of like scarcity. You have to be one of the, let's say, 100 people who gets in, and the rest can't get in. So similarly, the designer luxury fashion brands have applied the exact same strategy with great success. And everybody's now crying, "Oh, it's a lie! Like you have to, in shaming the designer brands for doing this." It's not really a lie. It's an economic and business strategy which is very successful, very efficient, and time tested. It works every time, basically. So when you get in, you might realize the VIP room in the nightclub has exactly the same seats and exactly the same drinks and exactly the same everything as the rest of the nightclub. And that's what's happening right now with designer luxury bags. People are getting them and realize actually a bag is a piece of leather that has been stitched together to hold your stuff. So of course there was never any particular added value to owning that particular piece of leather versus this particular piece of leather. It's basically a bag. But it's not what those bags are about. They're about sending social signaling, like we went over a few minutes ago. So essentially, this, the veil has lifted and the influencers are all selling their designer bags. I think that's a bit misleading because it was always the case that those were just handbags. It's just that the social value assigned to them was higher, and people were more interested in signaling that they had gotten access to an exclusive thing that was scarce and that was difficult to get. So now, basically, the wind has shifted. Society no longer finds that social signal appealing. And so that's why designer luxury goods are no longer seen as a good thing to have, because the social signal that they send is wrong. And so I want to get into why. There is currently an undeclared recession. So you can see it by many different indicators, economic indicators. If you want, you can have a look and you'll find them: rising unemployment, inflation, the price of life getting more expensive. All of those things are widely known, and if you read a newspaper, you will figure it out. There's also more subtle indicators. There's, for example, something called the hemline index. When skirts become longer, it means there's a recession. So at the moment, it's the fashion for ankle length skirts, which hasn't been the case since the 90s. And so you can definitely notice that we're heading into recession territory in the fashion world. Similarly, when the economy is booming, like it was, for example, in the 80s, you had neon colors, bright pink, electric blue, gold, big hair, big makeup. Right now, it's the trend for minimalism. Very muted colors. Brown is trending again. I'm like, what? Brown hasn't trended for decades. And it's all linked to the recession environment. So of course, in an environment like that, it's no longer trendy to have logos on your things, and it's no longer trendy to splatter in the social sphere the fact that you have a lot of money, because there's so many people struggling, and because also it's become slightly distasteful to socially indicate that you have spent 20K on a bag when some people get 20K in a year. And so I think it's not that designer luxury the craftsmanship has gone down, or that the bag, surprise, surprise, was just a bag. It's not that. It's that the social signal that having a designer luxury bag sends is no longer desirable. So then let's come to the influencers. So influencers, I think, are really interesting. And I've been on YouTube for 15 years. And so I've seen a lot of trends, a lot of, like how things have evolved. And I find influencers right now are all en masse doing the same thing. And it's really interesting as a social indicator. They're all selling their designer luxury bags. They're all saying that they're super disappointed by how this or that brand has treated them, that it's all a lie, that the manufacturing quality is bad, that that basically they've been hoodwinked into buying those bags, and so now they're selling them. I think what I would take that with a grain of salt, because I think first off, it's just a trend. Like 5 years ago, there was a trend where all the influencers were buying designer luxury bags, and that was like encouraging people to also buy designer luxury bags. Similarly, there is now a trend where all the influencers are selling their designer bags and buying mid-range luxury. And so it's influencing you similarly to sell your designer bags and buy mid-range luxury. So essentially, it's just a trend. It's just a fashion right now. The fashion 5 years ago was buy lots of designer stuff with lots of logos. The fashion now is sell your stuff and buy mid-range luxury. So in a way, all these influencers doing the exact same videos is basically just another trend. There's also, I think, and when you watch these videos, just take it with a grain of salt, because they all have, or most of them have, symbiotic relationships with brands. So when you're an influencer on YouTube, a successful one, you basically enter into business partnerships with brands, and that results in you getting paid when your viewers buy the products that you have advertised in partnership with the brand that is financing you. And so what that means is, if you think about it, the mid-luxury brands right now are having a moment, right? So it is in their interest to enter into these partnerships with influencers, and perhaps to put even conditions and say, you have to say that designer luxury is no longer the trend, and you have to encourage people to buy my brand and mid-luxury brands. Otherwise, no deal. Or perhaps you have situations where it's just in their interest to push mid-luxury brands, because maybe they've done a partnership with one of them and they've created a bag with one of them. And I'm not going to name names here, but some of these influencers have created their own line of handbags with mid-range luxury houses. And so essentially, why would they go and promote the high-end luxury brands that don't have partnerships with them, if they can promote the mid-luxury brands that do have partnerships with them and get paid for promoting them? So I think you can see this on the French mid-range luxury labels. You can definitely guess which ones are influencer and social media savvy, because their bags are trending everywhere on the internet. Polène, I am absolutely certain, has completely understood the social media world, because their bags are is very popular, and it's essentially due to social media. And you have, for example, all these bags that are being shown throughout all the videos from influencers on the internet, and you can tell that it's because they've entered partnerships with those social media savvy brands. So you've got Polène, you've got Strathberry, you've got Atelier Auguste. They're all being featured, and they were unknown a few years ago. So that's really clever, because they're surfing that wave of the recession economy and the fact that designer luxury is no longer seen as palatable. And so they're basically catching their moment and taking advantage of this trend to enhance the visibility of their brand. And kudos to them, well done. I have no issue with that. I'm just saying, should you sell your designer luxury bags? So let's address the question that this video is posing. I think not. I think you should keep them. And I think I would even go further, and I would say there's going to be a lull in their popularity right now, which is going to go also with a price decrease. And if you like designer luxury, not only should you not sell the ones you have, you should even buy designer luxury bags now. And I would even go one step further. On this channel, I talk a lot about treasure hunts in the second-hand world, and finding luxury finds in resale platforms. And I would say even this. When all the influencers and everybody else who's going to follow these influencers is going to start selling their designer handbags, they're going to find their way onto these secondhand platforms. And not only then will you not have to pay for the initial markup of the object because you're buying it secondhand, so right off the bat you're probably paying only 50% of the original price, but even those prices will even go further down, because there's going to be a flood of these objects onto the secondhand market, because if nobody wants them anymore, then they're going to become really easy to find and there's going to be lots of them, so their price is going to go down. So I would even say that now is a good time to buy those secondhand, not to like walk into a Chanel shop and buy it from like at the price that they still think they can command, but rather to buy it secondhand on a platform where people who are following this trend of like luxury designer bags no longer being desirable, those people who are selling it on the secondhand market will essentially sell it for a lot less than they would have even a year ago. And so now is a great time to buy those luxury designer pieces secondhand. And I can, on this channel, I talk a lot about finding those treasures on the secondhand resale platforms. And so I can help you find those treasures. And so if you look at I have a playlist which explains how to use the most usual and the most famous resale platforms to find those pieces and how to find them and how to negotiate their prices. So if that's of interest to you, don't hesitate to look at that as well. At the moment, I've never seen Chanel handbags cost so much. I've never seen Hermes handbags cost so much. If you wait a year, maybe they will cost less, and that would be a good time to buy them. And then, because the wheel of fashion always turns, in about 10 years, when the economy picks up again, when it becomes palatable again to socially signal that you're wealthy, then you will have the bag because you have bought it when it was at this lowest price. One of my biggest fashion regrets is when I was once visiting New York. I went to a consignment shop and I saw a Chanel flap bag, a quilted one, exactly the one I wanted, and it was $600. And I was like, it's a lot of money. I don't know that I should buy it. And now a secondhand Chanel bag is like £2,000. And I'm like, I should have gotten that one. But that was like, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago. And now that price is not to be had for any Chanel bag. So that's what I'm talking about. Because at that point, having a Chanel bag was not particularly fashionable, and it was giving off vibes of like, middle-aged bourgeois woman. Nobody wanted them. And so you could have one for very cheap. And that's what I'm saying. Because the wheel of fashion keeps turning, not only can you now have designer luxury goods, they're going to become cheaper very soon, and you can have them if you like them. Why not? And not only that, but if you wait a little bit longer, they will become in fashion again. So if you have designer luxury goods, definitely stick with them. Keep the ones you love, obviously. I mean, not everything is going to become trendy again. There are things that are never going to come back in fashion. But look, for example, Chloe's Paddington bag was fashionable in the 2010s or so. Fashionable again. The Mulberry Bayswater was fashionable in the 2010s and is now fashionable again. The Chanel flap bag, fashionable again, etc., etc. So if you can identify the iconic models of luxury handbags that are going to withstand the test of time, then hold on to those. The ones that are maybe a bit more trendy or not as immediately recognizable, those you might want to let go of. So there are a few that are going to always be fashionable, always come back. If you have those, do not let go of them. They will come back in style. And so I would really think a little bit more about like how, like we always talk in Quiet Luxury, we talk about timelessness, like a design has to be timeless. Timelessness is basically you hold on to the good stuff, you wear it while it's not popular, if you're strong enough, like if your character is strong enough to not care what people think about you. But more importantly, at some point, it comes back because it's timeless. And so that's my own 2 cents added to this debate of like whether luxury handbags are all a lie and whether you should all sell it. I say with emphasis and definitively do not sell them, keep them. If they make you happy, there's no harm in keeping them. So I hope this video was helpful, and if you liked it, you know what to do. Bye!